much I wouldn't do. Oh yeah. Ooh, I'll try anything once. Cause girl, you know I is a fool for you. I'll try anything once. Oh, I'll try it, yes indeed. Girl, I'll try anything once. Cause once is all I need. Hey, I'll try anything once. There's not much I wouldn't do. I'll try anything once. Cause girl, you know I is a fool for you. I'll try anything once. Oh, I'll try it, yes indeed.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We will like to ask you to kindly take your seats as we are about to commence our program shortly. Please take your seats. The Honorable I. Chester Cooper, Deputy Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and Minister of Tourism, Investments and Aviation. The Honorable Frederick Mitchell, Minister of Foreign Affairs. The Honorable Michael Darville, Minister of Health. The Honorable JoBeth Colby Davis, Minister of Energy and Transport, other Cabinet Ministers, Secretary to the Cabinet, Mrs. Nicole Campbell, other senior government officials, executives and staff of the African Export-Import Bank, delegates, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Matt Mora, a representative of Bahamas Information Services, the government of the Bahamas Information Service. Welcome to the African Export-Import AFEXIM Bank's annual meeting 2024 signing ceremony. To those of you, our guests, our friends, our brothers, and our sisters who have joined us in country and in person, I extended the warmest of Bahamian welcomes to our shores on behalf of the government and people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It is my most fervent hope that you enjoy all of the benefits this paradise has to offer. To those of you who have joined us online, I bid you welcome. I am sure your in-person colleagues will be more than excited to inform you of the excellence of the Bahamian spirit, the beauty of our shores, and the hospitality of our people. Not to worry, though. The Bahamas' tourism product is available year-round, with 16 distinct island destinations at your disposal. Feel free to use all of them. We await just some background on the meeting as we await the arrival of the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and the President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of AFEXIM Bank. The host agreement signing ceremony for the government of the Bahamas to host the 31st AFEXIM Bank annual meeting, and the third edition of the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum in Nassau today, under the theme, Owing Our Destiny, Economic Prosperity on the Platform of Global Africa. This year, taking place alongside the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. The signing ceremony marks a significant milestone in advancing the partnerships between Africa and the Caribbean. AAM 2024 and Active 2024 are expected to attract over 3,000 delegates, 20 heads of state, and 90 regional and international journalists. A bit about the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. The Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum is a strategic activity aimed towards institutionalizing the engagement between the Caribbean community and Africa's private sectors to advance trade and investment relations. The inaugural edition of the Afro-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum was held in Bridgetown, Barbados in September 2022, and the second edition in Georgetown, Guyana in October 2023. A bit about Afrexim Bank. African Export-Import Bank is a Pan-African, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I ask you to please kindly stand for the entrance of the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Honorable Philip Edward Brave Davis Casey, accompanied by His Excellency Professor Benedict Orama, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afrexim Bank. Please remain standing for the playing of the anthem of the Afrexim Bank and the national anthem of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, in that order.
From within the shores of the motherland and far beyond, with dignity we rise and we build up reach for all. With integrity, respect, trust, excellence, commitment, creativity. We will build for Africa's prosperity. We will build for the now and posterity. As we standing together, we prevail to forever. We are transforming Africa's trade. Oh, we are Afrexim Bank. We will build for Africa's prosperity. We will build for the now and posterity. As we standing together, we prevail to forever. We are transforming Africa's race. Oh, we are Afrexim Bank. Salam, Hoyama, salam, Hoyama, salam.
Thank you for your kind attention. You may be seated. Please indulge me for a moment to also welcome the Honorable Ginger Moxie, Minister for Grand Bahama. We will now have remarks and response from our two principals. Philip Edward Brave Davis is perhaps best known as a politician, currently serving as leader of the governing Progressive Liberal Party and Member of Parliament for Cat Island, Rumkey, and San Salvador. What many may not know is that he entered politics late in life. Professionally, he is well known and respected locally, regionally, and internationally as an acclaimed corporate and human rights lawyer, a highly distinguished legal educator, a passionate sportsperson and sponsor of many sporting activities, and a Toastmaster. Mr. Davis's appointment as Queen's Counsel, now King's Counsel, the highest possible honor that is conferred on those practicing law in the English legal system anywhere in the world, came in recognition of both his highly successful legal practice and his many contributions to legal education. A leading litigation lawyer, Philip Edward Brave Davis has an impressive record in the courts of appeal, with perhaps more appearances before the United Kingdom's Privy Council than any other Bahamian lawyer. His chairmanship of the National Insurance Board allows Prime Minister Davis to speak so authoritatively on the country's social security and economic affairs. During his tenure there, he introduced a number of fundamental reforms which put the National Insurance Board in the position it is today, where it is currently providing support to thousands of Bahamians. During the last administration of the Progressive Liberal Party, from 2012 to 2017, as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Works and Urban Development, Mr. Davis ran a super ministry. His portfolio covered the maintenance and expansion of the public infrastructure of the Bahamas, as well as oversight of Bahamas Air, BEC, now BPL, and the Water and Sewerage Corporation. As Works Minister, Mr. Davis led important reforms at both Bahamas Air and BPL, as well as executing one of the largest potable water distribution projects in recent times, developing a reputation for getting things done. Since May 2017, he has served as the leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. On September 16th, he was elected the 5th Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, where he also serves as Minister of Finance. Prime Minister Davis has become a leading voice for small island development states on matters of climate change and sustainability. As Prime Minister, he has repositioned the Bahamas as a global leader in digital assets with the launch of the country's white paper on the future of digital assets. Mr. Davis is also recognized for his government's bold initiatives in laying the framework for the administration's policy on the launch of its carbon credits exchange regime. Further, his outreach to African states and their constructive engagements and functional cooperation on matters of mutual interest, including access to capital, agriculture, and tourism, are commendable. Please stand and extend a warm welcome to the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, the Honorable Philip E. Davis, as he comes to address this august body of delegates.
Good morning, and please be seated. The introduction having taken up half of my time this week, I'll try to be as brief as I can. But I was asked just a while ago, how do you respond to such an introduction? And I just have to remind persons who introduced me, I ain't calling the election right now. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. President Benedict Orama, our esteemed guests, Today's signing ceremony is an important first for the Bahamas, as well as for Africa-Caribbean relations. It reminds me of the profound potential buried within our diaspora that I spoke of just a few weeks ago at the Bank of Botswana. What I said, a potential shaped by our collective history, a bloodline of resilience, and a shared spirit that binds the African continent and the Bahamas. In recognition of this new chapter in the diasporic partnership, today, it is with immense pride we officially signed the agreement for the Bahamas to host the African Export-Import Bank's annual general meeting this coming June. Our ancestral history is marked by strength in the face of adversity, beauty and creativity, even amid scarcity, and a relentless pursuit of self-determination. In the Caribbean, our forebears who traversed the vast expanses of the Atlantic, not by choice, but by force, today unite us in a cause that is far greater than the ocean that separates us. Their dreams, their struggles, and their hopes are encapsulated in this moment as we, their descendants, forge a future where Africa and the Caribbean stand shoulder to shoulder, not just in solidarity, but in economic collaboration for mutual prosperity. This AGM meeting in the Bahamas is a symbol of what we can accomplish through unity and collaboration. In today's world, amid economic and environmental challenges, we choose collective advancement over self-preservation. Instead of building walls, we choose instead to build bridges, bridges of trade, bridges of innovation, bridges of financial integration, and most importantly, bridges connecting our people and cultures. As we prepare to welcome the continent of Africa to our shores, we are reaffirming a vision where our economies are intertwined in support of one another, where the barriers that have historically divided us are dismantled, and where our collective strength is recognized as the tide that would lift all boats. Our commitment to this vision is underscored by the preparations underway to ensure that the AGM serves as a forum for dialogue and a catalyst for tangible, impactful deliberations and collaborations. We are setting the stage for discussions to aid us in navigating the challenges of our times, including climate resilience, financial inclusivity, and the digital transformation of our economies. To the African Export-Import Bank, our partners, we extend our deepest gratitude for entrusting us with the honor of hosting this significant event. Together, we are celebrating the spirit of partnership. We are commemorating a union of dreams, the dreams of our ancestors and the dreams of future generations that we pledge to realize through unity, collaboration, and mutual respect. A year and a half ago, in November 2022, the Bahamas, along with other Caribbean states, participated in a historic moment with the African Export-Import Bank. We signed a document that promised to forge a future where the Caribbean and Africa move forward cooperatively to work toward the advancement of our peoples and our economies. The Memorandum of Understanding signed between the government of the Bahamas and Afri-Exim Bank was the beginning of an extraordinary partnership, one that sees the Bahamas as well as its sister Caribbean states establishing a deep and meaningful partnership with Afri-Exim Bank. This relationship is pioneering. It is founded on the principles of trade between us, members of the Global South, a testament to our ability to work together to develop our own opportunities and our own solutions. In keeping with this mission, AfriExim Bank's commitment to expanding operations in the Caribbean through the establishment of the Caribbean Exim Bank is an example of the potential for development in our region. AfriExim Bank foreshadows an investment of $700 million in the Caribbean, a bold statement of faith in our collective future. It is a future in which the Caribbean community can unlock much-needed economic and social benefits. Ladies and gentlemen, as we look forward and toward the horizon, we must look beyond today's challenges to tomorrow's opportunities. This annual general meeting in the Bahamas will be remembered for the decisions made and agreements signed, but also, more significantly, as the moment when Africa and the Caribbean came together for a better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. A bit about our next speaker. As President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of AfriExim Bank, His Excellency Professor Benedict Orama has grown the bank significantly while improving its global appeal and relevance to the African continent. For example, AfriExim Bank is playing a leading role in the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is the most significant multilateral development on the continent for decades. Professor Orama led the creation of and is leading deployment of very innovative digital platforms that are expected to boost intra-regional trade and investments by revolutionizing cross-border payments and improving access to quality trade information. Under his leadership, AfriExim Bank is supporting the harmonization of standards and the development of quality infrastructure across Africa as part of a wider industrialization and export development strategy. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome to the podium His Excellency Professor Benedict Orama.
Thank you very much, Master Ceremony. Honorable Philip Davis, dear brother, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and learned much more about you this morning. Honorable ministers and other government officials here present, including the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, members of the diplomatic corps, the leadership of the Bahamas corporate sector, my colleagues from the African Export-Import Bank, ladies and gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Today is a remarkable day. In a simple ceremony, we set the stage for an event which will have been beyond contemplation just a few years ago. Today, we sign a hosting agreement that will bring AfriExim Bank annual meeting to the Caribbean, retracing the infamous Middle Passage, but in this case, giving it new meaning and purpose. By simple strokes of our pens, we will commit to an event that will solidify the partnership between AfriExim Bank and CARICOM states, a partnership that will form the platform for global Africa to take its destiny into its hands. I must thank you, Honorable Prime Minister, and your government for the warm reception my team and I have received since arriving in Nassau, and for your unwavering commitment to our shared goal of strengthening links between Africa and the Caribbean. I also thank you for your kind words expressed this morning. It is a reflection of a blossoming friendship and partnership. Thank you very much. Honorable Prime Minister, about 10 months ago, in June 2023, you were a first-time guest at Afreximbank's 30th anniversary celebration and annual meeting held in Accra, Ghana. Today, we'll be signing an agreement to host the 31st annual meetings. It is an onerous responsibility you have willingly assumed, and which we sincerely appreciate and applaud. The Board of Directors and management of Afreximbank are most grateful to you, your government, and the people of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas for this honor. We recognize the sacrifice and responsibility that come with that decision, which are all the more reasons for our deep appreciation. The decision to host this historic event just after the momentous events in Ghana, a country with whom you share a common history, culture, and identity, reflects the strong bond that truly binds us as one people with a common destiny. It's also a firm statement of your belief in the Afro-Caribbean integration project. By holding the 31st annual meetings of the bank in Bahamas, we collectively make a strong commitment to elevating the collaboration between Afreximbank, the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and the entire Caribbean region to a higher pedestal. It bears testament to the depth of your government's appreciation of the importance of our unique partnership to catalyzing shared growth and prosperity for all Africans, wherever they may be. It affirms our commitment to foster inclusiveness and to bring the bank services to the doorsteps of the people it serves. And most importantly, Afreximbank shareholders will, for the first time, see and feel for themselves the Caribbean project their institution embarked upon some 3 years ago, in fulfillment of the aspirations of both the African and CARICOM states. Bringing the annual meetings to the Caribbean also offers us the opportunity to celebrate the progress we have so far made in the journey towards strengthening economic and trade ties between Africa and the Caribbean. In under 2 years, a lot has been achieved in the context of the roadmap we drew for ourselves. 11 out of the 15 CARICOM countries have entered into the partnership treaty that Afreximbank and the CARICOM states agreed to enter into. And that treaty is similar to the establishment agreement entered into by and among African states participating in Afreximbank. This foundational agreement set the stage for so many other things to happen. For instance, in August last year, Afreximbank opened a Caribbean office in Barbados. Afreximbank board also approved a limit amounting to $1.5 billion for CARICOM partner states to rise to $3 billion upon the remaining countries joining the partnership. A pipeline amounting to $2.4 billion has been built in the Caribbean, and in January this year, Afreximbank made its first disbursement in the form of a climate-linked loan to St. Lucia. Last year, the bank received its first shareholder from CARICOM, which was the Caribbean Development Fund. The bank is also currently working with the CARICOM Secretariat to create a CARICOM Exim Bank, which Afreximbank is willing to be an anchor investor if the CARICOM states agree. Honorable Prime Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, here at home in 2 months, shareholders of the bank will gather in Nassau to hold their annual meeting and associated events. We are also working with the government to develop an Afro-Caribbean marketplace here in the Bahamas. When completed, that marketplace, which will be a permanent marketplace, will house manufacturing warehouses, be a transshipment point, also a distribution and logistic hub for various tradable merchandise that Africans and the Caribbeans produce and would like to trade on. It will finally establish the Bahamas as the gateway into the Caribbean. This will constitute remarkable achievements when we complete it. And we hope that the government will work with us diligently to bring this game-changing project to completion. Honorable Prime Minister, Afreximbank annual meetings also offer a blend of celebrations, reflections, and deliberations. They remind us of our shared heritage and give us the opportunity to appreciate our rich cultural diversity and identity. They allow us to reflect on and celebrate our collective achievements and socioeconomic progress in prior years, while recognizing the challenges of now and opportunities for the future. This year's annual meeting is being organized under the theme, Economic Prosperity on the Platform of Global Africa. The Economist magazine recently noted that the world had degenerated into the dark days of neo-mercantilism, a system where bigger than neighbor policies assume national policy preference over global cooperation. In such a world, the choice of all Africans couldn't be better defined. In an era where every group must fend for themselves, we must rise as global Africa, armed with our abundant human and natural resources to pursue our own course to economic transformation. For none but ourselves can free our minds and restore dignity to our people. This will constitute the thrust of the discussions and presentations at the annual meetings. At the apex of the events will be an opening ceremony on June 13. It will be graced by heads of state, heads of government, regional organizations from Africa and the Caribbean, as well as policymakers, academics, and businesses across Africa and the Caribbean, and from around the world. Other notable sessions will include keynote presentations by economists, policymakers, and dedicated section to showcase trade and investment opportunities in the Caribbean and the Bahamas. We also have dedicated sessions focused on youth, innovation, and the creatives, three essential pillars of economic development, especially with focus on our youth. We will end our series of events with a closed-door meeting of the shareholders of Afreximbank on June 15. Honorable Prime Minister, beyond all of this, we concede the allure of the natural beauty of the Bahamas, and we will not cast it aside. The Bahamas is known for its iconic beauty, rich cultural history, and amazing tropical archipelago. It is our expectation that at least 4,000 participants will throng these islands, not just to participate in the annual meetings, but to savor the wonders of the Bahamas. Experiences over the years have shown that the immediate and near-term impacts of the annual meetings of the bank on the tourism and the hospitality industries around where we host them can be immense. By way of context, the annual meetings in Ghana and the hotel industry there tens of millions of dollars for the 1 week the event lasted. We expect much higher impacts on the Bahamas. Besides, we also anticipate new business links and potential investments in diverse sectors of the Bahamian and broader CARICOM economies. It also offers an opportunity for African and Caribbean businesses to move beyond their geographic confines into new lands of boundless opportunities. Honorable Prime Minister, before concluding my remarks, I must express our deep appreciation to your government for the strong support it has given us towards the preparation for the annual meetings. The support of your officers has been remarkable, professional, and exemplary. We therefore extend our appreciation to them through you. We look forward to insightful, entertaining, and path-breaking annual meetings in June here in Nassau. Thank you for your kind attention.
Your Excellency, we thank you for your comments. We will now have the signing of the annual meeting 2024 hosting agreement. Our signatories are Mr. Cresswell Stirrup, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and Ms. Anne Azay, Director of Communications and Events, Afrexim Bank. Prime Minister Davis and His Excellency Orama will serve as witnesses. The signing will be followed by a photo session, including a family photo. We now invite cabinet ministers present. Please join the photo shoot. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Prime Minister Davis and Professor Orama will now accept questions from members of the media, both in person and online. A little bit of housekeeping while we prepare the stage for the question and answer period. which will last 15 minutes. Individual media members selected will be allowed one question only to facilitate as many questions as possible. Please keep all questions relative to this morning's signing of the hosting agreement. While we prepare the stage, While we prepare the stage, a bit about Afrexim Bank. African Export-Import Bank is a Pan-African multilateral financial institution mandated to finance and promote intra- and extra-African trade. For over 30 years, the bank has been deploying innovative structures to deliver financing solutions that support the transformation of the structure of Africa's trade, accelerating industrialization and intra-regional trade, thereby boosting economic expansion in Africa. A stalwart supporter of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Afrexim Bank has launched a Pan-African payment and settlement system that was adopted by the African Union as the payment and settlement platform to underpin the implementation of the AFTA. Working with the Secretary and the AU, the bank is setting up a $10 billion adjustment fund to support countries to effectively participate. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister and His Excellency. Our first questions would come from Arise TV and CNBC TV in that order.
Thank you very much. My name is Adefemi Akinsoya. I'm from Arise News. We're based in Lagos, Nigeria, but we do have presence across the African continent and indeed across the world. Thank you very much for your time today. I have the same question to both of you gentlemen, President Orama, Prime Minister Davis. If you could identify one single metric or marker for the success of this union, what would it be? Would you imagine it be a diversification away from reliance on your relationship with the United States, for example, visa-free travel exemptions for all African countries? If you could identify one single thing that would be your greatest goal within this collaboration, what would that be?
Well, from my perspective, the African Exim Bank have several initiatives that would be of great assistance to the Caribbean region. One of which is their, what they call the PAP system, the payment, the intra-jurisdictional payment system that facilitate trade. And if we are now piloting it through our central banks in the Caribbean, and if we're able to adopt that and have it integrated into our system to facilitate trade between our varying jurisdictions and countries, that would be a great outcome. Insofar as I think you suggest the visa abolitions, well, our country, my foreign minister, we have been working aggressively to look at the abolition of visa travel between African countries. We've already done so in a number of countries, and we're continuing to do that. And we are also, at the same time, establishing relationships, formal diplomatic relationships with varying countries. In addition, coming out of this meeting, if we could have the board to increase the funding for this region, it would be another milestone and achievement, particularly directed to issues that impact the region, like food security, energy security, funding in those areas that we have been talking about over the last year. That will be an outcome that will be signature for the region, and more particularly for the Bahamas. If we are working on having an African trade zone in Grand Bahama, the African Exim Bank is already funding the feasibility study for that purpose. And if we are to develop that, that too would be one of the great events for the Bahamas coming out of this board meeting. Professor?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Okay, no, thank you very much. I rather think that we've already achieved what we wanted to achieve. 2 years ago, Afrexim Bank wouldn't be talking of doing $2.4 billion in the Caribbean. We are beginning to do transactions of that magnitude. 2 years ago, African businesses wouldn't even think of investing what am I talking about? $1 million in the Caribbean. Today, our clients are taking up projects, investments of $1.5 billion, which are supporting. So what we wanted to achieve, that is to say to ourselves that opportunities exist between Africa and the Caribbean. That Africa is a market for the Caribbeans, and the Caribbean is a market for the Africans. I think we have achieved it. It can only expand. And if we are then able to do the payment system here, as we've done for the PAPs in Africa, and it begins to grow as PAPs is growing and doubling every month, nothing then stops us from then integrating the two payment systems, and we pay for the trade all over the African Caribbean in our local currencies. If we do that, then we will also then achieve what we hope that PAPs will help us achieve in Africa, reduce our sovereign debt significantly. The sovereign debt, foreign debt, because most of the foreign debt goes to finance infrastructure, which we pay for in foreign currency. But if it becomes the case that an Egyptian contractor, for example, or RASCOM, or SWD, or Arab contractors, or any other from other parts of Africa, so comes to build a road here, a bridge here, or port here, or whatever, and the Bahamas government or whoever pays in the Bahamian dollars. That is a game changer for everybody, as we're beginning to see in the continent. So that is what we are hoping for. And after the general meeting, we will then also hope that our shareholders will buy into the project even further and make it possible for us to expand our concessional finance window to be able to accommodate projects in this area, do the kind of things the Prime Minister mentioned that we should be doing, do blended financing, and be able to use our own capital to support our development as among the Afro-Caribbean communities.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Kenneth Belmo from CNBC Africa.
My
name is Kenneth Belmo from CNBC Africa. My question is going to cut across investment flows and trade information. It's good to see that we're here for this host signing ceremony, and it's very key and important as we move to the annual meetings. And I'd like you to speak to the specific opportunities you see for investment flows, and also how this integration can improve knowledge around the products from both regions, from Africa and also from the Caribbean.
I didn't quite get
I
that.
didn't quite get the question.
The question
Could you
is
speak
not
a
very
little louder? And
Can you hear me better now? Yeah, so the question is centered around investment flows and trade information. And I'd like you to speak to why, how this event, the annual meetings and the active coming on the soil here in the Caribbean would impact investment flows and also improve trade information between Africa and the Caribbean.
I think I can get it.
I think it's straight. I still
Yeah.
don't get it.
The audio is not very clear.
I think you're talking about.
Okay. All right, is it better now?
The audio is not clear. Maybe you speak without the.
Okay, is it much better now?
That's even worse.
All right. I think this should be better now.
Yeah, that's up. Yeah.
All right, so I was saying that my question focuses on two areas, investment flows and trade information.
Investment flows and trade. Okay.
Yeah, and looking at this whole signing ceremony here and the partnerships that could come from this, what can we expect in terms of investment flows in the region, between the regions from Africa and the Caribbean, and also how will this help reduce the knowledge about both regions in terms of trade information?
I think we start off by identifying opportunities that will attract the investments on both sides of the divide of the expanse ocean that separates us. Once we're able to identify those investment flows, we then just set up the mechanism to ensure that any barriers to prevent that from happening or to slow it down are removed. And this meeting that is foreshadowed, this annual meeting, could do several things. One, identify opportunities, identify challenges for the investment flows, and then come with strategies to remove those obstacles to ensuring that the flows of investment are unimpeded. Insofar as the trading, most of the Caribbean, well, the Bahamas itself is a consumptive, has a consumptive economy. Most of what we have are imported. For our part, as I indicated, we are seeking to diversify the economy by investing more in agriculture. And so, insofar as trading and et cetera, we seek to identify technical assistance from Africa and the African countries that have the experience in this area of agriculture production, both pastoral and other crop growing, and try to bring those synergies together. We have missions that hopefully when we add this meeting, we could identify ways and means of ensuring that we are able to transfer technical assistance and expertise between African countries and the Caribbean. I don't know if you wish to add anything to that, Professor?
Yeah, I think you touched most of the things I wanted to say. I just want to add in the area of information for investments. We have what we call it's a project platform. We have projects platform. It's a digital platform where we upload all ongoing projects in Africa, and some of them being done on public-private partnership or where countries are looking for contractors to build them, and so on and so forth. So that platform, we have opened it for Caribbean projects and for Caribbean investors to see. Those who are interested can go there, see the opportunities for investment in different African countries, and also the African businesses are also able to see the opportunities in the Caribbean, and then they pursue it. We also will very soon begin a more targeted trade and investment promotion in the Caribbean, and also work with relevant agencies in the Caribbean to also do in Africa. What is available is any country, whether African trying to come to Caribbean or Caribbean to go to Africa, that calls on Afreximbank would normally follow, as we do today for African countries. So we follow them to Caribbean or follow the Caribbean to whatever country and help prepare it so that it is effective. We know that the greatest constraint to boosting trade and investment remains information flow. And the reason for that was because of the work of colonialism. Part of the divide and rule was to make sure you don't have information amongst yourselves, so you know more about Europe, America, and recently China than you know about the country just across the border. So that we know we have to change. Unless we change it, we're not going to boost trade. And that's why we are using digital platforms, because that is the best thing to do. And that is also why we are very, very interested in the Bahama market, permanent marketplace. Because that will be, over time, we believe will become the hub for information about what is happening in the Caribbean and in Africa, in the context of Afro-Caribbean trade. Or in fact, even the Africa and its diaspora. Because people who want to buy things will get there, people who want to do investments will go there and get all the information. You don't have to travel very far. And that will be connected, hopefully, with our IATF Virtual, our virtual platform for trade fair. That is also a permanent trade fair, but which is a virtual permanent trade fair. So the platforms we have for trade information, and of course the active involvement in actual trade missions are the kind of things that we believe will help drive the trade and investment flows we are all, hoping for.
Good morning, Betty Vidrine from Bahamas Information Services. Given the Bahamas' reputation as a major player in the international banking sector, are there any plans to have a physical presence of the Afrexim Bank here anytime soon, in the foreseeable future? And if so, what are the potential benefits that you see that we can derive from a partnership such as that?
Okay, no, it's...
When you go open your bank in the Bahamas.
Well, you know, we are working with the government of the Bahama marketplace. Certainly, the Bahama marketplace, we need a banking service, and if we are part of it, we would like to be there to provide the banking services. And so that is what I can say for now. But as you know, we already have an office in the Barbados, for the Caribbean, which was established just a year after we started all of this. Are we going to do more in other? Yes, we have today how many offices in our 6 offices. So I think depending on how the things evolve and given the distances, we may find that we have other offices to make the operations more inclusive. And we are beginning to be approached by non-CARICOM Caribbean states that want us to include them in the arrangement. How to include them will also affect the presence we will have in the future in this part of the world. Thank you.
Good morning. Berthany McDermott, R News, Bahamas. Prime Minister, you mentioned a project in Grand Bahama that the Afrexim Bank has already agreed to, I guess, support. Are you able to speak to any other investment opportunities or projects that we can see either in Grand Bahama or through any other islands in the Bahamas, and I guess how Bahamians will benefit from this? And also, with the forum being held in June, can you speak to the impact this will have, I guess, touristically for the Bahamas? I know usually, we're open to the American, Canadian market, but now this is stretching to other parts of the world. So the impact that will have on us there, as we are big on tourism here in the Bahamas.
Yeah. Well, first of all, there is a project that's now being spearheaded by the Minister of Grand Bahama, Ginger Moxie, that speaks to the Bahama Africa Trade Center. We're viewing downtown Freeport, the old bazaar. What do we call the bazaar again? The International Bazaar that was in Grand Bahama. To reconfigure that, to make it into a marketplace, an African marketplace, to be a hub for logistical distribution of African goods, African culture, etc. And that is well on the way with the African Bank. The bank has also agreed to do some funding through the Bahamas Development Bank to help farmers and other small business ventures here, to the tune, I wouldn't like to say the numbers yet, but it is north of 30 million. And that is, I think that is about to be consummated anytime soon, definitely before the annual general meeting. And that's already all in train. And we are looking at other opportunities that we're working. And it's not just government to government, but it's also to the private sector. And a number of private sector individuals are seeking assistance from the bank.
In-house media partners, we thank you for your questions. Our final two questions would come from our online guests, from Mr. Junior Matok, representing the Cameroon Tribune. The first question is for you, Honorable Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Africa and the Caribbean have centuries-old ties linked by history. How can the signing of the agreement with Afrexim Bank benefit your country?
It benefits my country by the fact that we'll be hosting over 4,000 visitors, which will be a tremendous economic boost to our country. With heads and beds, the Bahamas is a well-known recreational center for tourism and tourists, and so the economic impact alone would be significant to the country. And of course, the other spin-off from the fact the decisions to be taken by the bank that will impact some of the economic challenges that we have, that we're hoping to seek assistance from the bank. Their presence here will give us that eye-to-eye contact to be able to speak and feel, and at the same time achieve some of the solutions that we need for our challenges. And so it will be a tremendous impact to the Bahamas to have this event here. Very often, more than 6,000 persons attend these events. We only think about 4,000 now, but that may balloon to more. And so you can just see what the economic impact of that is to our country.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. Our second question is for you, Excellency. Professor Orama, after Barbados and Guyana, Afrexim Bank is preparing to sign an agreement with the Bahamas. To date, what are the trade benefits of this cooperation between Africa and the Caribbean?
I don't think just the agreements we sign with the markers of what the success of what we are trying to do. A lot will depend on how it revitalizes the interest in ourselves and the opportunities we see in the market Africa and Caribbean presents to our people. That is for us what the big picture is. How does it help us to take our destiny in our hands? We just want to be the catalyzing agent because Afreximbank cannot do it alone. When the African Union in 2008 declared the diaspora as its 6th region, they did an important thing. It was a political decision, but declarations and political decisions would not yield the desired outcomes. We knew that we were created to help convert aspirations to reality. So that declaration then set the stage for us to say, okay, the way to get things to happen is to make sure businesses begin to flow. But no business will flow without finance. We were created to create that financing bridge to bring the integration, not only within Africa, but between Africa and the South countries. But we also know that somebody has to first put their legs in the water. We've seen it in many things in Africa where we had to lead the way. So when we start doing, others will follow. It is that crowding in that will bring the change we are looking for. The market will be too big for just Afreximbank, and we really want others to come. But it has to be those who will be there come rain, come sun, because they see this as their market. As one of our friends say, that in the context of Africa, they say, well, many banks have Africa strategy. But at Afreximbank, Africa is our strategy. So we can't run away from Africa because something happened in Africa. So in the same kind of partnership we want to see is the kind of institutions we want to crowd in because those are the ones that will bring the change we all want to see.
Prime Minister, Excellency, thank you for your kind attention. Thank you, media partners, for your questions. And that brings us to the end of our program. On behalf of the government of the Bahamas and the executives and staff of the African Export-Import Bank, I thank you for your attendance. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats to allow for the exit of the Prime Minister and His Excellency.
Thank you.
A further announcement for you, a delicious lunch will be served in the foyer. Please enjoy.